I tend to just open the one that I'm coming up on. And we sent you the script, and we'd love to have the guests stick around when they can. But if you're busy and you have to roll after the interview, feel free. All of the guys that are recording have notifications turned off, so you won't make any sounds when you leave.
Okay, sounds good.
Got it.
And me last.
How you doing, guys?
School's not out for summer anymore.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having us.
All right, how you guys doing, Brian and Scott?
Good. Thanks for having us.
All right, so a little background that I can kind of set up how this arrangement came to be. Scott Rupp is actually the guy with Simulations. He is the guy who makes our little headlights or LED lights that we put in our VRs that spot for us. And he's in this league, and he contacted me about just talking about this league, and it's like, well, how about we arrange a sponsorship deal too? And that's basically where we came to. So. Scott, do you want me to read out the announcement, or would you like to?
No, I'd love the opportunity.
Go for it.
All right, it is with great pleasure that we are able to announce a new partnership with iRacers Lounge. We are excited to be able to do our part in bringing much deserved attention to this wonderful podcast, which endeavors to bring you insightful and informative stories and in-depth coverage of everything going on with the iRacing service. For the remainder of the 2020 Throwback IndyCar Series and the 2020 season, the fastest qualifier will be awarded the iRacers Lounge Pole Award during our broadcast. This newest award gives us even more capability to highlight our amazing drivers who make our series the incredible show that it is. Our next race and broadcast is going to be on the Global Sim Racing Channel on August 13th. And when we take the IRO 5 IndyCars, we head out west to the 2008 version of the Phoenix International Raceway for round 14. Out of 20 for the 9-4 Motorsports Throwback IndyCar Series. And we're pretty excited to see who's going to snag this first one.
And Brian, you're here as well. You guys are with 9-4 Motorsports, which is the title sponsor of the series. And what can you tell us about 9-4 Motorsports?
Well, 9-4 Motorsports is a motorsports preparation and maintenance business. We do everything from building race cars from scratch to maintaining race cars that are owned by customers. We also offer ride and drive programs where, in a basic sense, a driver shows up with their gear and can race with us. So we try to do a multitude of things that can reach a wide range or wide variety of people who are in motorsports and try to meet their needs. And we partnered with Scott in the Throwback IndyCar series last year, so this will be our second year with the series. We've really enjoyed being part of it, really enjoyed the exposure. And one of the things that we've, as a motorsports business, like an in-person real motorsports, we've always desired to connect with the sim world, and I found it's very difficult to do that. It's very difficult to bridge that gap between going from being a sim racer to getting on track, or even from being on track to getting into sim racing. It goes both ways, and partnering with the Throwback IndyCar series is our attempt to try to start bridging that gap and see what works to get people involved on both sides.
And I'm sure you can speak to the exposure that sim racing can bring to a real life business.
It can. It's you know, at first glance, you might think it's really not gonna work. There's not gonna be a lot of exposure. That's not really worth the time, the money, the effort. But in reality, it is. It's the customers who are in motorsports are a lot of the same customers who are in the virtual and the sim world. So there is a lot of back and forth, and with this unfortunate COVID-19 from this year, the sim world has really exploded, and it's really given us some exposure we weren't expecting. We won't turn it away, that's for sure, but it's really exploded here early this year.
So Scott, you mentioned you run a classic IndyCar series. So is this on in the Legacy IndyCar?
Yes, it is the old IR05.
All right, and you run late on Thursday nights, correct?
Yeah, we do. We run right on Thursday nights. The qualifying begins at, it depends if it's an oval race or a road race. The qualifying and the coverage begins at either 10:40 or 10:35, and then that runs right up to gridding, which is right at 10:45.
And you alternate with it's a late night race, which would be handy for me. What? Yeah, and another thing that might interest you, Mike Ellis, is Scott. Tell him about the other league that you run on alternate weeks, because I know this is a particular car that Mike enjoys.
Yeah, absolutely. We did jump on the 1987s, the old legacy NASCAR Cup cars. We jumped on that as soon as it came out. We had always planned to try and expand our classic racing mantra. That's what we want to focus on as a league as we expand and get larger. The IndyCar took off really well, and as soon as we got that established with an awesome core group of drivers, we were able to jump over, and we were going to start an ARCA type of series. And we ran about 2 or 3 races, and then iRacing dropped the 1987 bomb. And as soon as that came out, we got with our drivers and we made the swap over to that. And it's a learning curve, but we're having a whole heck of a lot of fun with that. And that runs on alternating nights, and it runs a little bit earlier because NASCAR tends to usually be a little more East Coast centric, and IndyCar is kind of like Midwest and a little further out West centric. So that's why we started 2 different times for the 2 different series.
Yeah, Mike doesn't have to edit anymore, so as soon as we finish recording, he gets to roll out, so he might be able to have time to make that '87 series. Whereas I might have a chance to make the other league if I decide to run it, because I do the editing. It is pretty late though, and it'll depend on whether I have to work junior high football games this year or not, and whether or not we're working football games changes every other day. So I won't be able to tell you what my work schedule is going to be like this year. So speaking of scheduling, with a league like this, let's say my plate is full as far as setup building goes. Scott, can you tell us about how the setup works for these leagues?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I like open setups for the official series. And I understand where people come from as far as time constraints, things like that for the fixed side. But what we also wanted to focus on was we wanted to give people the capability to, it's at night, you put the kids to sleep, you get your day wound down and just hop on and go have a fun experience in the league. But what we do with our fixed setups is that we build our own setups, and the main focus on what I've always envisioned was, and this is how we run it in the real world. You want the car to be as comfortable as possible. And so that's what we do. We take a very conventional, straightforward way of setting up a race car, and that gives drivers a comfortable, fun car that they can really be aggressive with and get racy and not have to worry about the car killing them every single lap after lap after lap. And then what we do, because if everybody has a perfect car, it's kind of difficult for passing and things like that. But what we do is we said, just like in the real world, we make the weather the variable that affects the driver. The driver has to overcome the weather, not overcome the setup. So we'll have a really nice setup, but you know what? It may push out of 4 because you may have a 15 knot wind coming straight at you, or different other variables like that. So that's what we do with our setups, and we've had some. If anybody hasn't, if you want to see what this league's about, you can go and watch our last race at Michigan, and it's classic, old time NASCAR or IndyCar IR05, that era, IndyCar racing at Michigan, and it was edge of your seat stuff. It was great.
It reminds me of when we had one of our charity races at Daytona, and we had, was it Bobby or Hammer made a setup for us that was designed. It was a fixed setup, but it was designed to make it a little bit harder to stay nose to nose, and it led to some really good drafting compared to the package that was happening in the official races a couple of years ago. All right, so we've learned a little bit about the leagues and about the companies. Let's learn a little bit about the drivers. So I'm going to go through some of our standard questions and just kind of hit each person up one after. So Scott, let's. How did you hear about iRacing?
Completely honest, I don't even remember. I stumbled on it through just surfing on the internet, and if I had to take a guess, I was probably trying to find some old NK 2003 or NASCAR Racing 2003 stuff, and I came across iRacing, and I checked it out, and that's pretty much where I've come and stayed.
And Brian, how about you?
I believe I saw my brother playing it. It must have been around 2010. He was there at his desk, and it was brand new to me, and I was just kind of taken back by it. I didn't have the chance to get into it right away, but I did eventually. He took off and did more and more, and kind of got me hooked on it a couple years ago, and I'm just really dipping my feet in as I have time, and I'm really enjoying it. It's a lot of fun.
Cool. Brian, what hardware are you running with right now?
I am running a Logitech, I think a E920 wheel and pedals, and then I just recently upgraded to a gaming computer. I honestly don't know what it is. I've kind of been piecing stuff together, but that computer made a huge difference. I was using my desktop computer with a small screen, and I thought I was doing great. And I got that gaming computer, and I didn't realize how much detail and how much that would actually help me in driving. I definitely improved in my consistency by having better graphics. So that was a big upgrade for me.
Are you running triples or just still a single monitor?
It's still a single monitor. I would love to run triples. I found on some of the circle track, Daytona, Talladega, I really struggle with knowing how close. I find myself being more tentative because I don't want to get into somebody and not knowing where they are. And I think that would be a huge advantage to be able to have those and be able to see my peripheral much better.
How about your setup, Scott?
Well, I have, let's see. I got the OSW Big Midge motor. So I got that set up, and I got it hooked up to the Fanatec F1 rim. And hopefully eventually I'm going to have to switch over to a NASCAR rim, because running these and making these setups for our Top Gun Cup series with these old 87s, that they're beasts. I need a bigger rim. My thumb's hurting, but then I run triple setups and things like that. And I do have, I did upgrade my computer from about a 5 or 6 year old computer, and now I kind of went in elbows deep. It's a 9700, and still a little behind on the video card, just doing a 1080. But so we'll make that jump whenever we upgrade to VR sometime in the future.
And we know which league, one of the leagues that you're running with, Scott. How about any other leagues, or what official racing do you like to do?
When I started off in on the oval side. I started really wanting to challenge myself, so I kind of jumped into the Gen 6 stuff and things like that. So I mostly ran the NIS because I love long races, because I'm not a short run guy. I'm a rhythm long stretch driver, and that was, I really, really enjoyed it. And then I stepped away from that kind of when the tire model started getting a little squirrely, and I went over and started working on the roadside, and I absolutely fell in love with the F1 series back when it was the FW35, no, FW31. And then we switched over to the McLaren, and then we're back to the FW31 again. So the open wheel stuff is kind of some of my favorite things to do.
How about you, Brian?
Well, I've been running in the Throwback IndyCar series. When it first started, it was there was only 8 or 10 cars last year in the very, very beginning, and I fit in well with that group of guys. As more and more cars and more qualified drivers came in the series, I quickly learned how inexperienced I was. So I've kind of stepped away from doing that. I don't want to mess up somebody else's race. And I did the same thing with the Throwback Cup series in the beginning. I ran a couple of races. And then I stumbled across a series. The Online Sim Racing Association has a Dash series. It was the trucks only at super speedways, and it was not less talented drivers, but it was I fit in better with those skill levels, and I did better at that. So I ran that this year. But a lot of what we do is with our drivers for race events that we go to, we'll get on and host a practice race at a track to try to get them familiar with it, and try to make sure everybody's ready for the race weekend when they come drive with us.
Cool. And one of our favorite questions that we like to wrap our interviews up with is what is your most memorable iRacing moment? We'll start with Brian.
I won one of those truck races, the Dash Series. I was being pushed by my teammate, and it was super close. We were within less than a car length to win at a speedway, so I was really excited with that. I think that's probably the best I've ever finished. So that was my most exciting moment I had this year.
How about you, Scott?
There's actually 2, and you'll probably get a chuckle out of this, and they're kind of equal. The top one is an actual my one and only F1 win at Suzuka last year, and it wasn't top split. I can't hold a candle to those guys, but we had a really strong second split in that series, in the official series. It's a really great group of drivers, and just had a great race at Suzuka, and I got my first real high quality victory on the roadside in F1 in that one. And then the second one was an incident-free NIS race at Martinsville, running mid-pack the entire time.
That's a big feat.
That's why they're tied.
Well, we definitely appreciate having you guys on here. Brian, Mike, can you think of any other questions you'd like to throw in?
What are they going back to? Are they going back to the McLaren? Yeah, we just had our daughter at the end of December, and I haven't been able to dedicate the time to really race the F1 series. So I've kind of stepped away from, pulled my fingers off the pulse of what's happening there. So I didn't know about that change again. I was a strong proponent of going to the FW31. The McLaren was always uncomfortable to drive. And from what I understood, it was uncomfortable to drive in the real world too. And the only issue that I really ever had with that car, because even the handling was manageable. It's a race car. Everyone's in the same boat as you are. The only thing that I ever kind of really had as far as a point of contention is they always adjusted, and it seemed like every couple weeks, or at least every season, they would readjust how the curves worked, and you had to completely reevaluate your race strategy because everything is highly based on your battery and stuff like that. So that was the only thing that really kind of turned me off about that. So we'll see what they do. I mean, I'll give it a chance. I like racing, so I like racing F1 cars. So we'll see.
We are definitely looking forward to the partnership. I know a few of us are going to start sneaking in to run a few league races. And a part of the partnership is that you guys are also sponsoring a segment on the podcast. So when we get to our results section, it's going to be sponsored by you, and we're going to feature the results from the throwback races each time we get into those result segments.
Yeah, that's awesome. We appreciate, like I said, we appreciate partnerships like this because um, I've been telling people like I know Mike from somewhere. We raced together in a league, or I knew from somewhere, and I remember when you guys started this podcast, and I have been seeing you on and off and how it's grown and things like that. And I just think I think it's awesome what you guys have done and accomplished. So you know how difficult it is to grow something. So anytime that you can enter a partnership where you know you can get the exposure that you need and really highlight your series, especially a series like ours. We run a very obscure kind of it's I don't want to say unpopular, but it isn't a mainstream car on iRacing anymore. And the things that our drivers have really been able to do and the shows they've been able to put on with this car, it's really great. And I really appreciate the opportunity for people for this to get on their radar. And number two, um, I like to highlight the sponsorship and the partnership that we have with Brian and 94 Motorsports, because it is of vital importance whenever you have a really really solid relationship with somebody in a company that sees the benefit of sim racing and the real world racing. Because I went from iRacing into real world racing. Now I race super late models, and there's a benefit to that. So anytime that we can get sim racers who may have some track real world experience and they're looking to get in with a company like Brian's and 94 Motorsports, anything that we can all do to benefit each other, that's awesome.
It's definitely a great benefit for both of us. We almost forgot one thing. I'm sorry I forgot to bring this up, but Brian, can you tell us about the contingency prize that's going to the series champion, which is the main reason we brought you on?
Yeah, absolutely. Last year, we kind of in our infancy, we gave apparel, some swag to the champion for the 2019 season. So we wanted kind of to up our game this year. And as I said earlier, we're always trying to find that way to connect the iRacer to real world racing, wheel to wheel racing, if you will. And I've kind of struggled with how to do that, and we thought offering we call that a driving experience to the series champion in 2020. It's really going to be more like a test. It's like we would do any potential driver that would come and want to do one of our arrive and drive races. They'd come with us, and we would do a full day of testing. We would decide what their goals are. They would tell us what goals are, what they're looking to achieve out of motorsports, and we would tailor that test day to getting them up to speed in the cars with us and being ready to race on track. And for the 2020 champion of the Throwback IndyCar Series, they're going to get that exact same experience. They're going to be able to come to a track with us. They're going to get the full treatment. They're going to be able to drive the cars. If their goals are to go fast and just have fun, we're going to do that for them. If their goals are to work on specific styles of driving, maybe shifting, apexes, tracking out, anything that they want to work on, we're going to work on them one-on-one and give them all the attention they need, just like we would any regular driver. So the champions are going to get that. All they need to do is go to the 94 Motorsports website. They can register for the contingency there. Just some short information that we want to find out about them and know what their goals are. And then at the end of the season, we'll crown a champion and we'll get together in 2021 and do that test day with them. And in a perfect world and in my mind, I would love to see them actually be able to race with us in the future after we do that. That's kind of what we're looking to do, to bridge that gap with something like this.
That's pretty amazing. I've gotten to drive a late model at Memphis, and I'm thinking about going up to St. Louis here in a couple of weeks and driving the Formula cars at Gateway. But it's a very neat it's a very neat prize. It's top of the line. The last question for Scott is, how many drop weeks can I have to get a shot at that title?
14. No, I'm just kidding. No, we have a 20 race season, and like I said, we're around 14, I believe. We're running up on round 15 next week, and we usually have 4 drop weeks in the season. So we'll see what we can come up with next year's for you.
Well, thank you guys for coming.
Oh, absolutely. We're on Facebook, Ultimate Classic online racing series. On Facebook, I post a lot in iRacing Drivers World and iRacing Leagues, those two Facebook pages. And but our website is ultimateconquestracing.com, and it's all hyphenated and things like that. And I want to add one more quick thing. When Brian's going to be kind of a little bashful about this, but when the champion of our series goes out to a track day with 9-4 Motorsports, they're not getting in a back marker vehicle. 9-4 Motorsports is near the front or they're on the podium anytime that they're competing. It's in the Champ Car Endurance Series. So they're going to be in absolute top-notch equipment.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. We don't have any back marker equipment. We're going to put you in, one of the cars. It could be coming straight from a race that we've just done if we can ever get back to racing this year. But yeah, it's all great stuff. It's going to be podium stuff that we race. If we're not finishing in the top 3, we're upset and we want to do better. So that's the kind of equipment we're going to put you in. That's the kind of attention we're going to give you. We want this. While it's called an experience, it's really, we want you to get everything you can out of it and meet whatever goals you have set for yourself in motorsports. And you mentioned the drop weeks. I know you're kind of fun in it, but the attention this gets this year is really going to determine if we are going to be able to do that again next year. There's ways that we track that through the website and social media. We see how much attention this is getting, and in the end, it is a business. And if we're not seeing some talk about it or some kind of positive come from it, we probably wouldn't do it again next year. If there's a lot of talk about it, a lot of positivity coming from it, we have a lot of hits, if you will, we may do this again next year, and then anybody can get in and start afresh, for 2021.
Awesome. We're looking to hear it. Sure, I can stick around for a little bit.
Yeah.
Did that come from the Coke series itself, or did it come from his owners at Richmond Raceway?
They're both SMI, aren't they? SMI tracks.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, guys. I mean, this is some great racing that goes on in these late models, because the sprint cars are really good as well, but they just don't beat and bang. It's almost the equivalent of like a Formula One car for a sprint car compared to a stock car in late models, where beating and banging doesn't destroy your car pretty much every time. It takes a lot to really do it. So these drivers, they get pretty aggressive with it, and they really take to those fenders. That's for sure. Yeah, there's a sense of desperation in those consolation B mains that you don't see in a lot of the other racing. because it's your last chance to get into the feature. And so caution to the wind on those. All right, so this past Monday we entered round 7 of the World of Outlaws Late Model Series, with a new leader in points for the 4th consecutive week. So that just goes to show you how tight this points race has been, where the leader in the points is changing week after week after week. So this time coming in, Dylan Wilson was the leader with a margin of just 11 points over Hayden Carwell, and 14 points over Evan Say. But Zach McSwain, he takes the fast time in qualifying and goes on to win the pole for the feature race. In Heat 2, Kendall Tucker runs away for the win. Now Kendall Tucker, he's in 4th points in the championship, and we're at the point of the season where he really needs to finish really well for the rest of the season, and probably needs a little help from the top 3 guys to really get into the picture. Now the third heat had all 3-point leaders at the top of the field, with Cardwell was on the pole, and he ran away with the win. Second went to the current points leader, Wilson, and Evan C. finished in 3rd. And the 4th heat went to Blake Cannon, and with James Eden finishing 2nd, who was the winner last week at Kokomo. So that takes us to the feature race. And Kendall Tucker from the outside pole took the early lead until lap 5 when a caution came out, where Tyler Ducharme, he sends Brandon Proudfoot on top of the access wall road, and he's just tottering on top of the wall, like we've seen in some of those not top 10 iRacing videos. He might be a nominee coming up, so keep an eye out for that. On lap 15, Cardwell forces his way past Zach McSwain to take over 2nd, and he just begins to hunt down the leader, Kendall Tucker, from there on out. And then the big drama happens on lap 23 when Tyler Ducharme, for the 2nd time of the night, puts a car in the wall and flips the car. But this time, the driver was Evan Say, 3rd in the points. Who gets flipped and finishes a killer 19th place for his chances of winning this series. Yeah, that's not good when your name gets turned into a verb like that. Yeah, he sure did. Well, what was happening is Ducharme was coming on the low line, trying a slider, and just not giving the guy on top of the room, and just smashing into him, pushing him against the wall, and causing all kinds of carnage. So yeah, so I'm sure there was some pretty upset drivers. Evan was probably upset as anyone, being that he was so close to being in this championship point race. So on lap 33, after several laps of just beating and banging, Hayden Carwell takes the lead from Tucker, and then he just goes on the win. That's his 3rd win of the season, with Tucker finishing 2nd and McSwain finishes 3rd. So after all that, another change at the top of the points, with Hayden Carwell regaining the points lead by just 5 points over Dylan Wilson. And Evan Say, after that terrible finish, man, he's 50 points back now and pretty much out of it now. Yeah, and if you watch that feature, man, he was just very aggressive. He's been aggressive all season long. A lot of times it works out well, and he gets 3 wins, and sometimes he's starting in the B main. So yeah, it's definitely looking like a 2-car race to the finish with him and Dylan Wilson. Dylan Wilson seems to be a little bit more of a patient type of driver. He takes his spots when he gets them. He doesn't force too much. But yeah, he might have to step up his aggressiveness to try to stay with Cardwell in this finish. Yeah, and I think if you're looking at the leaders, I think Cardwell probably has a few more receipts coming than Dylan Wilson. So we look forward to that in the next couple of weeks and see how it plays out. I guess the UI is slowly making its way towards a interface that might be usable.
Well, it still says beta on the website.
Well, we know iRacing's trying to kind of push people towards using that. Maybe that's the first step.
I wonder if that was the case for me. We'll find out.
Oh, there's even yeah, because like I said, we've been in our league, we've been jetting into that car and building the setups and things like that. And but one of the neat things aside from that rear end thing is that we've identified a couple more issues in the forums. That some of us have driven cars similar. Obviously, it's not cup cars, but like heavy cars for the old metric bodies and things like that. And we've gotten the ear of one of the devs, and there's a couple things that they're going to address even too. I believe he said at the next official season build too. So they're looking at that car, and that's a really, really good thing.
That's correct.
Yeah, I haven't tried that yet.
I'll put plenty of laps on it next week. Still trying to figure Michigan out. Well, the concern basically before the chicane was the fact that the car was going over 200 miles an hour coming to turn one, and that is a huge braking zone in the old configuration, even in the sports cars. A lot of sports cars wipe out there, so I just couldn't imagine the cup cars getting through there.
Yeah, that's a tricky entry there because it's kind of off camber. You're going downhill, and that's difficult for even high downforce cars, let alone a cup car. Well, that has a lot of downforce too, but big old heavy car like that, I could see some issues.
Yeah, if you don't get the lines straight while you're braking, you're going to spin. And the reason they were able to put this update out so quick, I think we discussed this last time. The turtles that they're using are the same turtles that they're using in Charlotte, and so they already had this curbing scanned, and all they had to do was get basically, I guess, sort of like GPS data on where they were going to position it, and they just put it in that way.
Something that Evan spoke of last week that I thought was pretty crazy is that that the NASCAR was actually talking to iRacing about testing this chicane out on the service before they actually put it in the track. That's quite of a accomplishment to be relied on.
And the partnership is definitely real now.
Yeah, definitely. It reminds me of back during the Chili Bowl last year when they came to iRacing because the track wasn't running as well as it did last year, and iRacing provided them the data to try to get the track where it was the year before.
Yeah, and all the drivers are going to be flooding to get that because the news. You can't race that in real world because you get fined. So the benefit
And
of being able to run it on the sim is even more so now.
As well as a 2-week suspension.
Steep. So in the forums this week, Gary Weaver and Michael Jones were asking a couple of questions about rescanning some tracks like the Glen, Watkins Glen, and Mosport. And Michael Jones asked if there's any circuits that have been scanned that are sat in the bag, basically not having anything done with them years ago that could be worked into the meantime. Well, Gary West, the staff member, replied that they're really fully booked in their track building catalog, but reminded them that they're still working on Long Beach, Crandon, Hockenheim, and the Coca-Cola Speedway. So, and more in the pipeline, including another more dirt ovals as well. So, their list of tracks that are coming out is pretty long already, and so Greg was just basically saying, yeah, we really kind of booked up right now. Correct. Yeah, that's coming out this next release, I think. Yeah, that's like one of the pickup truck races. Yeah.
And that track is actually near where I live, and that is a huge event. It's a huge weekend, and there's gonna be a lot of happy people whenever Crandon gets dropped.
And they really need to. Exactly. That's what I was getting ready to say. The Wild West and the other one, man, they're just you're doing the same ones over and over. And the truck's not as much fun on some of the rally cross tracks that they have.
I wonder if they could just take some of the shorter road courses and just add some jumps to them and make them into almost like stadium tracks.
Yeah, they're absolutely pure dirt trucks.
Quick question, guys. So Long Beach is a street course, correct? How did they wind up getting that scanned, being that it's a functional street when it's not being used? And if that's the case, what's the possibility of doing the Monaco?
Is Monaco a lot more urban and a lot harder to get in to scan? Plus, it's a continent away.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Monaco is a pretty major city. I suppose I could Google it, but I think Monaco is quite a bit more populous than Long Beach.
And could it possibly be one of the deals where they're using an outside scan, like they've started doing?
Well,
Yeah,
they can
exactly.
tell if the data is going to fit what they need. You know, you can tell if the data is quality or not just by looking at it statistically. There's standard deviation stuff that you can do when you're looking at it to see if you're getting good data or not.
Yeah, and Hockenheim is the track, right, that set the precedent for them using an outside scan for the first time, correct?
So while we're talking about new material, we also have a new picture of the LMP2 that's coming out. It's going to be the Dallara P217, and they say it's pretty much ready for liftoff. A couple of people are asking about some other cars. There was a question on whether or not if it has the new Damage model or not, and the answer is no, because not all of the cars in multi-class have the new Damage model. And I'll throw in my 2 cents again. I hope they can just throw this in place of the C7 in IMSA, even though it's not actually an IMSA car. I haven't had time, but I definitely want to go back and see why he likes that car. But I mean, it's the rookie car. It's a momentum car. You have to if you overdrive it, you get punished. Um, and after you get used to some of the higher power, high downforce cars, it's kind of harder to go back to. But it is it definitely is a good place to start.
Yeah, I actually watched some of that video, and he explains it as that the MX-5 car, is in the corners for a much longer period of time, so he basically can slow down and break down a corner a little bit better with that extra amount of time in the curve.
Just to chime in, one of the other things that is nice about the MX-5 is it doesn't. It's still a pretty straightforward race car. A lot of mechanical grip and a lot of stuff like that. Like you don't have all the extra downforce. You don't have all the extra stuff that can mask maybe some driver mistakes and things like that. So you're getting the pure rubber meets the road feedback as far as, hey, did I overshoot the entry? Did I apex wrong or something like that? Whereas, if you hit even with the Skippy, it has a little bit of downforce. And I do believe any of the other road course cars too, or they got a wing, they got a whole bunch of stuff on them that can help you out too.
And David, you do make a good point that it's a rookie class car, so it's available to anyone on the service. You don't have to worry about buying extra content to get the lessons and stuff like that.
Yeah, but the more time in the corner does make sense because it's going to be easier to see what he's showing you as well. I did a lesson with Cronky from BRS, and we went back and did a lot of stuff, but we did it in slow motion so he could show me where I was missing the apex or apexing too soon, things like that. So this is a good option. Look into it.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of videos on his YouTube channel. Some of them a lot of them are Formula One, geared towards Formula One. He breaks down current drivers and older drivers and how they used to race. He's got a lot of content on there already without even going into his service. Yeah, he really approaches things in a scientific way, which you'd come to expect from Formula One. So, iRacing member Josh Thaxton asks in the forums if we can get the Geico restart zones for the NASCAR tracks that don't have them. So, I didn't see any response from anyone on the staff as to answering that question for him. So, what do you guys think? Do we need these restart zones?
I'm more excited about the choose cone than the restart zones. The way this guy's asking about it, he's basically just wanting it for leagues because the restart zone, the way it works in sim, is it goes from where the pace car goes off until the flagman throws the green, which is a lot bigger than the restart zones in real life. Even with the ones where they do have it graphically, it's not the same zone. So they will, but he's asking for it to be added graphically. That wouldn't take a whole lot of effort. That would be just look on the video, see where it is, and paint it in.
Yeah, and I think that can clean up some of the restarts because there's such a variety of when these leaders are taken off at these starts. Some of them go as soon as that pace car dives in, and some of them wait till the last second. So I think it'll clean it up when everybody has a better idea when the race is going to restart.
Well, it won't in official series because none of those graphic restart zones are enforced unless they change when the pace car gets out of the way.
Yeah, I'd like to see that too. And I'll tell you this from a league owner perspective, and you're watching, especially like stuff on the broadcast and things like that. There's not a whole bunch of more things, more kind of one of the last things you want to see is all your guys balling up on a restart, and from all the anticipation and stuff like you guys are saying, like the quote unquote unofficial restart zone is so long, and people are trying to anticipate and things like that. It just, you guys see in official races all the time. It just adds up to a bunch of mayhem and things like that. And then the other thing that just popped in my head when you guys were talking about it is you have the folks on single monitors, and especially at some of these short tracks, and like Richmond or Iowa or someplace like that, where you're heavy in the corners, you can't see further up ahead. So if there's an accident up ahead and you're on a single monitor, it's really tough for you to see that whenever the leader is going right off the bat, right as soon as the pace car pulls off. But the restart zones are usually further down the front straight. So that aspect too might be able to help out with a little more, the anticipation stuff, people able being to see further down the track and seeing trouble.
Well, there's a couple of things that come up. The You're technically allowed to go when the leader goes, but you'll have like say four people who have actually real life spotters who are watching the leader, and then you'll have everybody else who's either just looking for the leader themselves if they're close enough, or they can only wait until they see people around them start going. So if you got somebody who's in 20th place, he jumps the restart because he's been told the leader's going, but there's three wide, four rows in front of him. They haven't gone yet, and that can cause a lot of problems too. Yeah, it could help, but I also wish they would go ahead and make it officially protestable, if not enforceable within the game, to protest people for passing or for jumping out of line early unless they have to because of an incident. All right, because we had it in the NIS race last night, and I let it go, but somebody on the very first restart, he's coming 10 miles an hour faster than everybody when we've barely gotten going.
And let's do the PJ one, right?
No. Because I'll tell you, as a short track racer, the choose cone is actually a lot of fun. It adds so many more layers, especially like in the league race and stuff like that. Because in the real world, where we're looking at the choose cone and we're counting, like our spotters are counting. It's like, okay, there's 5 guys on the inside, there's 7 guys on the outside, but number 3 man on the inside is so and so, and that guy is horrific. And you're like, well, I'm going on the outside because I know that guy's going to hold up everybody on the inside. So like that cone adds in a whole lot of fun to the strategy on all the restarts. I'd really like to see that.
Yeah, when you're leading the race, yeah.
How hard are they knocking?
I don't answer the phone. I don't answer the phone. I don't answer the door. I have headphones on, so I can't really hear the door anyway.
Yeah. There's no way I'm stopping my race for that. No way.
Priorities, man. It's a similar question to the wife aggro. Was it Bernard that had his wife bugging him with a question when he was close to winning a race?
Well, Bernard Pollard. Yeah, that I think he was in third place. He said, and just totally crashed when it happened. Yeah, throws balance off, I guess, right?
Well, it just will startle you. I mean, you know, you're going to be like, "What?" You turn your head. Have you never had that happen when you were first learning to drive? Like if you get beside a truck or you look one direction and suddenly the car starts drifting that way as well?
Right. And they say sometimes if you're just driving along and you're looking at the wrong thing, not looking in front of you, that's the way you go.
Yep. That'll be fun if he can make it. He had softball with his daughters. Speaking of celebrities, we have a celebrity rig review, and I took this topic because you probably might know from the theme song. I'm a bit of a metalhead, even though I also play in a symphony. Uh, and this is Sid Wilson from Slipknot, and he has a 6 degree DOF reality, or I think it's 6 degrees. It's a P6 simulator, and he posted a video on Instagram. It gives you it gives you that kind of triangular approach that where each actuator is able to control 2 directions instead of just one.
Yeah. Whew. And it's another one that doesn't take up a lot of big footprint on the floor too. It's very compact.
It's very compact. It takes up less room than a P180. Uh,
I
can,
did. I looked up. I looked him up to see if he's on there. I didn't see him. His actual name is Sydney. So I looked up that as well, and I didn't see it yet. So maybe he's just getting ready to start up.
that's a pretty nice starter rig then, if that's the case.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it looks great. I think it's an awesome looking helmet. I wish Greg was here to talk about it a little bit more, but maybe next time. Well, speaking of people who don't win very often, apparently Dale Earnhardt
Ouch.
Jr. Dale Earnhardt Jr. posted uh, on Twitter that he just won his first race in the official A Series in 9 years. That cannot be right, right? I know he was off the service for a while, so, but I know he's been running pretty hard ever since the COVID stuff and all. So
I think he's wins his first win in the A car.
okay, that makes a little bit more sense. I'm surprised he doesn't race that more. Maybe he's getting ready for the new series that he's going to get in.
He's been well most of the summer as we were off. He was running a lot of NIS.
Yeah, well, if you remember, there was one race where he was really battling for the lead, and he could have been really rude to try to win the race, and decided to be cool and not do anything that made the service look bad in what his opinion was. And I thought that was really cool of him not to do that.
So it's floating time, right? There's a Dirt Legend hovercraft. Paul Mahone posted a forum taking a picture of his Dirt Legend car, and you can see that the tires are not on the air. However, it may be because he didn't quite have his graphic settings right. I recently did that Knoxville race, and the first time I loaded the car, you get this pop-up message that says, "Make sure you check render dynamic track data and shader quality to high as possible, because otherwise you don't see the tracks changing conditions." And when you're looking at this, you can see I don't think he had those settings because the dirt looks too uniform all the way across, and it doesn't normally look like that. So that's probably what actually happened to cause it to look like a hovercraft.
Yeah, he kind of phrased the question as if it was an issue with the car or something with the programming, but I don't think that's it. I think you're right. I think he just didn't have the settings right for the dynamic track data. All right, guys. So who wants a free helmet? Um, C Bell Racing Apparel, I guess that's Christopher Bell. It's giving away an exclusive pristineauction.com mini signed helmet. And all you have to do is follow and retweet at cbell_apparel, and you'll be entered to win. and that winner will be drawn this Monday, the 8th. So get your chance in, because it's coming up Monday to get a chance to win this free helmet. Yeah, I'm assuming it's another Chili Bowl helmet that he wore this past year. So I think that's what that's from. Right. Yeah, it's not a full size helmet. It's just a copy of that actual helmet that he wore.
My question was how. Yeah, because I mean, he must have hit all those gaps perfectly fine, because he never really lost a lot of momentum, and everybody else is having the same draft too. But they were all in line in some different packs and stuff like that, and I saw that too. I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah, to me, it almost looked like the AI cars at Daytona, where they just stay in line and they don't really make any moves. They just stay in line, and you just run right up the middle.
Well, it's not a full fendered car, so you can't throw a block and take a bump to the rear, or it's going to kill you too.
That's a good point.
So speaking of running well and actually winning in the iRacing colors, Ty Majeski's at it again. He's a four-time ARCA Midwest Tour champion. He went back to Wisconsin and went back to back. He won the Gandrid Auto Group 250 on Tuesday and then the Dixieland 250 on Wednesday. And both of those, he was running the iRacing paints. They were both at Wisconsin International Raceway at Buchanan, Wisconsin.
That is an awesome track. That's about, I want to say, 2.5 hours south of where I live, and I have some friends that run in that series, and that's the big boys. That's Midwest hardcore super late model racing, and if you can be in the top half of the field at any track that they go to, it's saying something. So it's really nice to see Ty, even before he kind of got his foot in the door in NASCAR and things like that, with the partnership with iRacing all throughout the Midwest and really putting the iRacing brand through a racing hotbed. It was really neat to see. So I was glad he won.
So another car that's sporting the iRacing paint scheme is on Dylan Welsh's midget that he took to the USAC NOS Energy Drink Nationals at Action Track USA in Kutztown, Pennsylvania. So this is his midget race car. It's got the iRacing paint scheme on the right side panel. And he actually finished 17th in the race. I checked out the results. was Wednesday night yesterday that ran. He finished 17th. Tyler Courtney won that race, and Christopher Bell was actually in it, finished third place. And we know how Christopher Bell can wheel one of these midgets around.
These are not your low-end pedals. We're looking at about 620 euro. That includes the tax. This is a high-end 3-pedal set for professional and sport pilots. And I can't access the website. Wait, yeah, I can. Here we go. I like the color. I like that kind of bronze, orange, kind of an orange brown bronze metallic type look. They're pneumatic pistons, high density gas. So probably right up there along the lines of the Huskenvelds as far as quality, if I were to guess. Don't have a review on them, but they look nice. Well, pneumatic is just hydraulic with gas instead of liquid. Well, I never heard of a liquid gas, but this is not a science podcast.
Yeah, it really pops. It's a great looking set of pedals.
Uh, the part of the pedal looks like it's kind of small compared to some of the other pedals, but as far as the actual length, I think it's about. I'm looking over at my V3s, and it looks like it's about the same dimensions. It just looks like the actual pedal part's a lot shorter, which might not be great for me with my small stature.
Spain, yeah.
No, I'm not, and I put your name on it because I assumed you were. Yeah. Is this the group where you found that used G seat that you were trying to talk me into buying? That was tempting. How about this rig though, out of the UK, Brian?
Hey, I don't want to jump back, but I was just looking at his pedals, and I don't know if you guys noticed, but the clutch and the throttle are all they look like they're transducers as well, not pots and not Hall senses or anything like that. But they actually look like they use the same technology as the brakes, but they have different mechanics. That looks like it alters the feel of all the different pedals. That's pretty unique. I never seen anything like that before.
So next up, we have, like Dave was saying, a really nice looking rig from Simdec, SYMDEC Limited. It's on Facebook. It's a UK company, and wow, they have a track racer rig, which is just beautiful with highlighted and blue LED lights. It's looks like it's full motion with the seat belts. Beautiful seat. It's a fantastic looking rig. Okay, yeah, I see. I got you. So you're building off of their deck. So yeah, so I guess if that's the case, you could put pretty much any rig you want on top of that 8020 or any kind of platform system like that at all.
When all the COVID stuff settles down, we really need to get to a convention and get a chance to try all these out so we can speak a little bit more from experience. Yep. So you don't have to have a basketball player's ceiling to fit it in the room, eh? Some of them, yeah, those 6-degree ones that have the triangular supports, they look nice, but they definitely float high. So yeah, so as we're looking at rigs, we have Racetech USA simulators and accessories. And if you take a look at this, it's not an 80/20 rig. It looks like just kind of solid spec pieces of steel, nice and sturdy. You don't have to worry about the post in the middle like we look at for concerned. And then they have quite a few accessories as well. The price on the main rig is 800. I'm assuming that's US. If it's Canadian, that would be real cheap, right? Am I converting in the right direction? Okay. Um, they've got a lot of nice accessories. They've got a seat slider to make it easier to get in and out. Quite a few different options for mounting shifters. Triple monitor mount, and it all looks well constructed. It's pretty solid pieces of sheet metal.
Yeah, like almost like a girder type design. Right, because if you look at the wheel mount, it's kind of sloped downward, and if that's not adjustable, that could be an issue with some of the wheel sets. It's the wheel's going to be like leaning the wrong way. Exactly. Yeah.
I'm looking at some of the other pictures. It looks like you can. I don't see how you can adjust the angle when I'm looking at this. It looks like you can adjust placement, but it's just got a platform sticking out that's triangular, and I don't know how you could tilt it up or tilt it down.
I mean, yeah. I mean, unless you can flip it over and it'll be flat on the bottom and tilted away from you. Yeah, that seems very reasonable. Sure, in the shafts of the handbrake and yeah, it looks like it's strong where it needs to be, and I guess that's the most important part. And there's some adjustability to it as well, especially on the handbrake.
Yeah, this next one, not so favorable on the price unless you're like trying to compete with Denny Hamlin's rig. It's got a YouTube video on here, and I've bounced back and forth through it, and it's amazing. Big O motion rig, huge triple monitors. It looks like I don't know if it's just a physical illusion, but it looks like the middle monitor is actually a little bit smaller than the other two. Can you see that? Or am I just seeing it wrong? It
Yeah.
may have just been a fisheye. It looks like he's got a couple of extra computer monitors as well, down on the bottom left or bottom right. It's got the streamer's console. It's got real gauges that are tied in. It's got a fourth monitor on top, the full motion rig, um, and I'm sure the computer alone is $3,000 or $4,000. It's on Simon Driver's YouTube channel.
Yeah, I'm drooling over that Kirky full containment seat. That thing is awesome. That's probably a good $1,000 right there.
Easily, easily, probably a lot more than that.
Well, he has the fifth actuator on the back that does the slip angle.
Yeah, there's really just nothing else to want on that rig. It's got everything you could possibly want.
No, I
Is
always like the rigs with the stepper motor gauges and things like that they programmed in, because whenever you get your monitors close to you and you get the field of view right, you always lose your gauges. And it's always a little distracting for me to, like, map the button to look down real quick and see if I'm going to blow up yet. But I always admire really good gauges.
Well, there are options with third-party apps to kind of put your gauges back in. Yeah. Well, like Sim Racing apps has tons of stuff, including analog gauges if you like the look. But is this thing really running 6 monitors, or are those? I think there's 2 other monitors down there that are just showing a desktop background.
I think, yeah, I think I saw that there's two separate computers. Yeah, I don't know what else you could do.
Some kind of real external shell. Ah, yeah, that.
And didn't you have to adjust the angles of your monitors to get them just right? All right, guys. So Asus has announced its latest gaming monitor. It's called the ROG Swift PG329Q monitor. It launches with the Super Kill marketing line, and it features a 31.5-inch fast IPS panel with a refresh rate of up to 175 hertz and a resolution of 2560 by 1440. So it's a pretty high definition, nice looking monitor from Asus. It's a good size for a 3 monitor system, and it looks like a pretty good deal. I haven't seen a price anywhere on it yet, though. Not like they used to, for sure. It seems like the curved monitors are coming into the point where these things are being less and less in demand. Yeah, and you only really need one of those for that thing.
Well, if you're wanting to get any of the new Proto SimTech pedals, you better. Oh, wait. Nope, too late. Sold out. Chris Smith posted, didn't really expect one to go out that fast, but they're already gone. Batch 8. Bye bye. That's what you have, isn't it, Mike? Maybe it's Joe that got those. I know somebody we know has them.
So is it time for a new shifter or a new dog?
Priorities, man.
Uh, I remember seeing on some of the iRacing videos on the Twitch clips that dogs are jumping in people's laps and licking their faces and stuff. So Brett McBurney linked to a video uh, comparing the through the lens visuals of the top commercially available VR headsets, comparing them to the new HP Reverb G2 that's coming out. So there's a YouTube video called MRTV, and what the guy does is basically takes a video of what you see through the lens of these headsets. He did it in Project Cars, and he tested the Rift S. He tested the Valve Index, and he tested his new prototype of the HP Reverb G2, and compared the visuals. He made a special note as to like how far away you can see things like license plate numbers and stuff like that, and he gave quite a good review for the new HP Reverb that's coming out. That really he thought the visuals were the best of all three as far as what you can see, which makes sense because it does have the highest resolution of all three headsets. So as long as it's got good pictures, then yeah, you probably will see more detail with that new headset. Yeah, it's outperforming that Valve Index, which is if you get the light stands for it, which are the cameras for the outside tracking, you're spending $1,100. This thing's under $6, so and it's outperforming it in most all the ways. So yeah, it's the one to get, and it's the one I ordered, and I can't wait for it to come in.
And the nice thing, oh, sorry.
No, it's a couple $100 more than the Rift S, but it's more than that worth in the sim. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say whenever you start getting into the more high fidelity and the high the graphics and stuff like that, resolution, especially on the road side, because there's a lot of road courses on the service where your braking point might be a small like little braking marker it's not like a huge like number one sign or anything like that, but it's something small, and you need to pick those out pretty far away, especially when you're doing open wheel cars and you're going pretty quick. And because I tried probably not the Rift S, but I think it was even an older one before that, and it was pretty difficult to drive. So it's nice to see the resolution coming up.
Yeah, if you had the Oculus, it was the original CV1.
Yeah, I believe that was what it was. My buddy let me borrow it.
I'm happy
Yeah.
with my S.
I had the original CV1 Oculus, and then when I got the first, I have the original HP Reverb right now, and it was night and day difference. It really is a big difference.
Well, the S is better than the CV1 as well.
Yes, certainly is. I was a little disappointed in Oculus that the Rift S wasn't a bigger upgrade from the CV1 than it was.
True, but it was enough, especially not having to deal with the sensor anymore. That, and I like the fact that I don't have to use their sound. I like having my own headphones instead of the headset sound.
Yeah, well, the Reverb, both this one and the older version of Reverb, the microphones just flip and click right off, so you can actually just take them off easily.
That's handy.
He also had another video. I was searching the MRTV guy, and he does some field of view testing for all the major brands to give a true field of view measurement for each of the systems. The Valve Index was a little bit bigger than the Reverb, and they were both a little bit bigger than the Rift. So who knows what 5 degrees difference makes, but I'm sure it makes a little bit.
Yeah, the faster.
Yeah, it's a big jump in resolution even from the Rift S. The Rift S is nice because they started going to the LED monitors, which have the full RGB striping in them. So that helped a lot with some of the screen door effect that the older systems used. But now with the LEDs and higher resolution, the screen door effect's almost gone.
Yeah, I don't notice it even in the S at all when I've got it on there.
Yeah, the old headsets used to use the OLED panels, but they didn't provide a full RGB stripe, and that kind of emphasized how bad the screen door effect was on those. When you get that screen that close to your eye, you're seeing in between the pixels, and that creates a screen door look like you're looking through a screen door. And but the full stripes on the new ones, they don't do that at all.
So we have some pedals by. Is this actually Alien or yeah, it is Alien Zadroti. I don't know if that's a nickname or if that is actually an Italian name. Interesting. Uh, they're single pedals that you can put together on a plate if you like. You can buy them in whatever set you would like. They are load cell, but the brake also has a spring, so it's kind of similar to the Fanatec V3s. Um, and the clutch actually comes with you can get the clutch pedal or a clutch pedal with a clutch mod, and I really haven't been able to figure out what that difference is. Um, but it's got to be better. It's 65 euros more expensive. Um, and they look nice. They definitely are load cell style pedals, and they're running close to the same price I think that the V3s will run. Because if you were to get a three pedal set and the base plate mount, you're getting close to 600 euros at that point. Yeah, that's right. It translates from Russian, but the currency's in euros. And Zadrati, I've never heard of that as a Russian name, but yeah, it's right up there. It's definitely a Russian website. In fact, it has okay, it has rubles in the corner actually on the pictures as well. So it has the euro price and the rubles price. I bet you with that plate, you can really separate them if you like to have your clutch far away from your brake pedal, or you like we saw with a, or if you like to have them both really far over to the left so you can heel toe if you want.
Yeah, they look very adjustable, and a lot of different options.
Yeah, I wasn't fast to begin with, and then got a timely caution, and I'm always faster at the end of the race than I am at the beginning anyway. So I was kind of starting to make a little bit of a comeback, and then there was a big wreck, and just nowhere to go. I mean, it took out over half the field, including me. So, still got some work to do on adjusting the set to the latest tire model.
I like that turned into a modified.
I remember he posted in Messenger that he was letting somebody go, and they just came up and put him in the wall.
Yeah, I saw that video. It was not good. Yeah, I played around with the Legends cars last week a bit, and it just tears up them right fronts.
Yeah, it was pretty convenient to have those couple of weeks off, so I spent a lot of time with the little bit of time off I had left practicing tons and tons trying to figure this car out. And at first I was really discouraged because it was not going well. I was struggling with a lot of overcorrecting. I finally just experimented with wheel settings because all the different setups, no matter what I did to the setup, it was the same problem. It was just overcorrect. And I discovered that cranking the resolution on the wheel all the way down to where I just barely had to turn the wheel allowed me to catch the car a lot easier without overcorrecting. As a result, I wasn't so unstable and was able to finish 15th in the top split without causing any wrecks. And so I'll take that, considering it was the first time I'd ever been on a dirt track ever.
And you said that was the 410s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a hard car to drive, man. It really is. You really takes a lot of throttle control to keep them things on the track.
Yeah, I was doing really well when it was when it was tacky, but once that thing went full slick, it would just coming off the corner, it would jerk real hard to the right if I had just and because I had the steering ratio way low, like I do when I drive a cup car, I would have to turn the wheel really far to catch it, and it would take too long to catch it, and it was just not controllable. So when I basically drastically cut that steering ratio to a really fast number, that really helped there and made it easier to control it a lot.
Yeah, but it's still a P15. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's top split in the Americas that running with guys like Christian Chandler. So when you race with the tough competition, 15 is different.
Well, Sunday night, man, I just got hit by this terrible summer cold. It's not the Rona, but man, it just knocked me on my butt for 3 or 4 days. I missed two of my league races that I would have done on Monday and Wednesday, and man, I just come home from work and I just crashed. So I'm starting to finally get back to where I'm want to be, where I'm feeling better. Um, I'm looking forward to picking up Michigan later this week on Sunday. I'll do my NIS race on Sunday, and then it's time to practice Daytona Road.
Special thanks to the other Brian and Scott for coming on. And just a reminder that our results section was sponsored by Eucora and the Throwback Indy Car Series. I didn't add that to the script until just now, but we've got it on there now. So we'll make sure and bring that up every week. They both have had to leave by now. But I know I'm going to go ahead and at least sign up for that Indy car race because it won't require a whole lot of pressure and time, but it'll be fun. It'll be good to get to know those guys and be able to talk about the league instead of just take their report. So I'm looking forward to running that.